Hey guys, this video is going to be on roughing and finishing mill part 3. We already went through and got the geometry of just doing the finish passes of this, right? We roughed out at 100th thou depth of cut and then at a 200th thou depth of cut. Well, this video is going to go over cutting practices for roughing out these pockets right in here. And that's kind of the tool path that we're going to be taking. So the approach that we're going to take is starting over here on our X negative axis, and we'll come in and we'll rough out like so, and then we'll take another step over, and then we'll take another step over. All right, so we'll rough out a pocket like that. We'll start here on the left side, then have you guys move up, and you guys will rough something out like this, so on and so forth. And you will continue roughing out the right side of the workpiece right over here, and then the bottom of the workpiece over here. When all the pockets are roughed out, then you can go through and we'll do our finished contour passes to clean up and make sure everything is to dimension and spec. All right, so I have our drawing up here, and I have some notes and some dimensions that should help putting our program together. Over here on the right side, I have some cutting information. The end mill we're using is a 3/8.375. Our depth of cut will be 100 thousandths, so that's Z negative 0.1, and then our second depth of cut will be Z negative 0.2. Our width of our cut, our step over, will be 0.1875, and we're going to be staying a 16th away from our finished geometry while we're roughing out these pockets. Over here on the print, I put some X and Y values here, so that should help put the numbers into the program. All right, so from with 0, 0 being the center of the workpiece to the very far edge of the workpiece, it's going to be X negative 1.5. I show that up here. And then for this inside pocket here, from the center point to this edge is X negative 0.875. For this edge over here is X negative 1.375. And for the top of this pocket right here, for the pocket on the top, the bottom of it is Y 0.875. So let's get into discriminator, and we'll start putting some numbers together using these values and then these parameters for our cutting actions. All right, so I have pulled up discriminator, and I will start putting some numbers together to start forming the roughing I want to do to make this workpiece. I have put a gap here above my G01 line. I'm going to put in parentheses left pocket. I'm going to keep my program organized because I'm going to be doing a left pocket, top pocket, right pocket, and bottom pocket, and then doing some finishing passes. All right, so I got left pocket put in there. If you notice up here on this line here, I'm already out here in space at X negative 2.0, Y 0, 0. And now I got to turn cutter comp on with a line movement down here. All right. So I said that we were going to be staying a 16th away from the work edges, from the geometry. So I'm going to put here Y negative 0.55625. Then I'm going to call up my D1 value. All right, so how I got to 5625 was the distance of the pocket is 1.25. So if you go 1.25 divided by 2, you get 0.625. All right, so that is to the edge of the geometry. Well, I want to stay a 16th away from this, so I will subtract 0.0625, which gets me to 5625. So that's how I got that number there. Okay, so the next thing we want to do is move to an X location. So with our width of cut being 0.1875 and the edge of our workpiece being 1.5, this X value will be X negative 1.3125. Now I'll put the math up there of 1.5 edge and then subtract 0.1875 as width of cut equals 1.3125. Okay, so that's how we got that number there. So now I have to come up in my Y. Well, all I'm going to do is duplicate this number, but in a positive Y-axis because I'm staying a 1/16 away from that finished geometry. So this will be Y.5625. And notice over here that I'm going, I'm climb cutting and I'm coming up and I'm going to start just roughing out this pocket. And then over here, I will do a X negative 2.0 just to get out here in space. And then I'm going to turn cutter comp off, G40 comp off to Y 0.0. You see I come down. Okay, so I'm starting to rough out this left pocket and I gotta continue with the same process of my step overs. So continuing with the same fashion of staying a 1/16 away from the outermost part of the geometry, I'm going to call up G41 again, turn cutter comp on, I'm going to go to Y negative 0.5625 and then D1. The next line is going to be a little bit different. So a little bit different from this one here because we're continuing to step over here to rough out more material. So this is going to be X negative 1.125. You can see right here, I've stepped over a little bit. And how we got this number was the same way up here. We just subtracted another width of cut. So 1.5 minus 0.1875 minus 0.1875 equals 1.125. And then I'm going to go up in the Y to positive 0.5625 to stay away from the finished geometry. I'll go to X negative 2.0 to get away from the workpiece. Now I will turn comp off, G40 comp off to Y 0.0. All right, so now we're going to do one more cut inside this pocket because we're trying to remove as much material as possible, and we want to be conscious of the radii too inside the pocket. So we want to remove as much material with staying away from the radiuses as much as possible. So now this next line, we're going to turn cutter comp on, G41 comp on, and we're going to go to Y negative 0.5. Okay, so now what we're doing is we are subtracting an 1/8 inch, just because when we come into this pocket, we want to make sure that we're not going to cut into the workpiece at all, and we want to leave enough material so on our finished pass is all going to clean up. So doing a 1/8 inch, leaving 1/8 of an inch should be able to clean up our geometry, should be able to get us a nice clean cut as well. So how we did this was we took this number up here, the 0.625, and we subtract an 1/8 of an inch to get us 0.5. Okay, so now we are negative 0.5 in the Y. And now we can't step over too much because we want to leave material for a finished pass. Okay, right now we're just roughing, and we're going to be doing a finished contour of this to get a nice smooth edge. So we go to X negative 1.0625, and this number, if we take this 1.125 and subtract a 1/16, we will get 1.0625. And this is just going to leave us with material to rough out this pocket, and when we do the finished contours, that we get a nice finish. And then we'll come up in the Y to 0.5, and we'll come X negative 2.0, come away from the workpiece, and then from here we'll go G40, comp off, Y 0.0. All right, so now that we have done that, we need to move over to our next pocket. So from here, we could go G00, Z 1.0. We go up in the air, and then we can wrap it over to the top of the workpiece at X 0.0, Y 2.0. And you can see this rapid move over here. And then you would do a G01, Z minus 0.1 with whatever feed rate you want. Okay, so fast forward in the program here. I have a note, fast forward to roughing and finishing geometry. You can look here on my plotted points. You see I roughed out this pocket here on the left. Looks like I was staying away from the radii here. You guys should have the top, right, and bottom pocket also roughed out. And then I also have some other notes here. So fast forwarding to the roughing and finishing of the geometry, I have a note here saying tool 1 has 0.375 in D01 and 0.395 in D21. But what does this mean? All right, so if you guys look at your programming books on page 65, there's some information here about using cutter comp and the D values in your tool offset. Okay, so if you look here, it says the advantage of cutter compensation can be taken when a rough and finished pass must be done in one tool. Okay, so if we fast forward down here, example, if the cutter is 0.5 diameter and you want to leave 10 thou stock for a finished pass, then enter a diameter offset command for tool diameter geometry of 520 for machining a roughing pass around the part. Okay, so basically we're going to tell the machine that the end mill is bigger by entering a bigger end mill under the D21 value of the tool offsets. And in our program, it would look just like this. So even though you're using tool 1, cutter comp is calling up the diameter value from D21. Okay, so it's thinking that the tool is bigger, it's going to leave more material on the workpiece. And then when you get to your finished passes down here, you would call up G41 D01 turn on cutter comp using D01 for a finished pass using the same program geometry. So this will take a lighter depth, lighter radial cut and get you a nice smooth and finished workpiece. Okay, so if you look here at my numbers, I have the same geometry of programming the profile of the workpiece. I just have rough full diameter tool 1 D21. So I have the same geometry, I just have D21 for my D value. All right, so then I go around the workpiece, I cut all that geometry, I color comp cancel with lead out line movement. Then that should be repeated for a Z depth change, because we got to change our depth of cut. So once we're done with our full depth of cut, we can finish the full profile. Okay, this is tool 1 D1, and I have D1 right here. Okay, so these notes will help when putting the program when entering our values at the machine in the controller. Right, it'd be very easy to forget to put a value in the D21, and you could end up cutting your geometry and not knowing it. Right, so notes are very helpful. I like to put them also on the side of my print, and I'll have them at the top of my profile, top of my program, and throughout my program as reminders as I'm going through and working on a project. Okay, so we use D21 to comp a bigger comp, and then we can work into our finished geometry by using D1, which will be programmed, which our tool offset will have our actual tool diameter in there. And then we just have our same geometry, and then we can finish off the program. Okay. I didn't spot drill or drill any of the holes for this print. Your program should also consist of those. So this week's assignment will be roughing out all 4 of these pockets, doing a rough and finished pass, and the drilling operations. Like always, if you have any questions, please reach out to me.